Hello, good day everyone. We are from the Iligan Institute of Technology of Mindanao State University. And this course is the Contemporary World with our course teacher, Sir Lord Gregory Crisol. In this video, you will learn about the environmental crisis and sustainable development. But this one is the version 2 of it since there are other groups who are assigned in the version 1. And please do watch the other videos in this channel. So again, this is about the environmental crisis and sustainable development. As we all know, environment is the surroundings or conditions in which persons, animals, or plants lives or operates. Here in the environmental crisis, it is really a crisis of consciousness. Most people know that the natural world faces great challenges and degradation, but few know the true extent of the changes and deprivation that the environment faces in its widespread effects on human well-being and all other life on Earth. So, environmental crisis is characterized by rapid and largely unpredictable changes in the nature of the environment, which is, if not difficult to reverse. Examples will be massive extinction and substantial destruction of the ecosystem. So, on the other hand, the sustainable development, it is the idea that can be interpreted in several different ways, but at its heart is a development strategy that seeks to balance different and sometimes conflicting needs against an understanding of environmental, social, and economic limitations that we face as a society. So it also means that its development is needed by the present without compromising the future generating with their abilities to meet their own needs. So there are factors that affects the environment, and these are the population growth, global warming or the climate change, habitat destruction and extinction, and the water and air pollution, which will be discussed on this video. So we will also be discussing of the causes of the environmental crisis, which are the technological development, the increase in resource and energy consumption, the rapid increase of human population, emergence and development of capitalist world economy, and short-term pattern of decision making.
Here are the problems. The first is air pollution. Pollution of air, water, and soil takes a huge number of years to recover. Industry and engine vehicles fumes are the most obvious toxins. Substantial metals, nitrates, and plastic are poisons in charge of pollution. So air pollution is very common to occur because we have our vehicles that has a fumes that could go into the surface of the earth. Dagdag talaga yan ng pamamaga sa surface natin, which is ang light sa sun is madali na lang na makakasakit sa ating mga skin. And the second is climate change is yet another environmental concern that has surfaced in the last couple of decades. Environmental change has different destructive impacts that include but are not limited to the melting of polar ice, change in seasons, new sicknesses, and change in the general climate situation. Third is deforestation and logging. Kanang manguha og mga kahoy pero pag panguha nila dili nila ilisdan. Ay uban nga kuhaon ng mga kahoy then himuon na nila og dalan which is maka-lessen sa ato ang oxygen to protekta sa ato. And the fourth one is overpopulation. The number of inhabitants on the planet is arriving at unsustainable levels that confirms deficiency of assets like water, fuel, and food.
So here are the causes of the environmental crisis. First is the technological development, which is In this course of human history, and particularly after the Industrial Revolution, human beings have been able to exert greater impact on natural resources and ecosystems. So, resource depletion is another negative impact of technology on the environment. There are several types of resource depletion, with the most severe being aquifer depletion, deforestation, mining for fossil fuels and minerals, contamination of resources, soil erosion, and overconsumption of resources. So the next one is increase in resource and energy consumption. So all energy sources have some impact on our environment. Fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas do substantially more harm than renewable energy sources by most measures, including air and water pollution, damage to public health, wildlife, and habitat loss, water use, land use, and global warming emissions. So rapid increase of human population. So in general, population growth plays a key role in environmental sustainability. It can lead to the deforestation, water pollution, and air pollution. These have a negative effect on the environment and also impact human daily lives. So governments and agencies must now know how to mitigate and where they will use the resources. So emergence and development of capitalist world economy is also one of the causes of environmental crisis because it increases flows of people, resources, products, energy, and waste have occurred together with increasing environmental impacts. So lastly, is the short-term pattern of decision making because it is exhibited by many governments, companies, and individuals, which place greater emphasis on short-term profit maximization than on the environmental protection.
Crisis and sustainable development. Biological diversity or biodiversity is the scientific term for the variety of life on Earth. It refers not just to species but also to ecosystems and differences in genes within a single species. Everywhere on the planet, species live together and depend on one another. Every living thing, including man, is involved in these complex networks of interdependent relationships, which are called ecosystems. So, for my topic, I choose responsible care for ecosystem. So, what is ecosystem? It is a group or community composed of living and non-living things and their interactions with each other. Every ecosystem has two components, namely biotic components and abiotic components. So biotic components is referred to all living organisms in an ecology, while abiotically refers to the non-living things. So these are the sustainability concerned with such issues, such as first, long-term health of ecosystems. So it is protecting the long-term productivity and health of resources to meet future economic and social needs, protecting food supplies, farmland, and fishing stocks. Second, it is intergenerational decision making. So it is very important to decide our plan, such as these intergenerational decisions. So when making economic decisions, we should focus on implications for future generations and not just the present moment. For example, burning coal gives a short-term benefit of cheaper energy, but the extra pollution imposes costs on future generations. Third is renewable resources. Diversifying into energy sources that do not rely on non-renewable resources. So we have different kinds of renewable resources such as renewable versus non-renewable resources. For For renewable resources, it is example of a wind generator that doesn't reduce the amount of wind. It has no impact on future supplies of wind energy. Similarly, solar power doesn't reduce the energy from the sun. For the non-renewable resource, it is once used and it cannot be used again for that purpose. For example, coal, oil is non-renewable. So once coal is burnt, the resource is no longer available to be used. So there is a limited amount of coal and oil, though new supplies can be discovered. So I have also here a semi-renewable resources. So some resources can be renewable if used in the correct level, such as farmland should be a renewable resource. This is an example for semi-renewable resources. So if crop rotation is practiced, then there is no deterioration in the fertility of the soil. However, if the farmland is intensively farmed with the use of artificial fertilizers and pesticides, then the quality of the soil can start to erode. So this is the renewable resources. So lastly, it is to prevent the consequences of man-made global warming. So we all know this, that global warming is one of example of the environmental crisis and sustainable development. This is to ensure the environment of the planet does not deteriorate to a point where future generations face water shortages. Extreme weather events exist temperature. All factors that could make living in parts of the world is very difficult, if not possible. Next, so why do we need to protect our ecosystem? It is very important to protect our ecosystem because it helps cleanses our water, purify our air, maintain our soil, regulate the climate, and of course, recycle nutrients and provide us with food. So they provide raw materials and resources for medicines and other processes. So in short, we cannot live without this. These are the ecosystem services. First is to reduce, reuse, and recycle. It is very important to reduce, reuse, and recycle our trashes. Of course, we should follow the 3 Rs to conserve the natural resources and landfill space. Second, volunteer. Volunteer for cleanups in your community. You can get involved in protecting your watershed too. Educate. When you further your own education, you can help others understand the importance and value of our natural resources. Conserve water. The less water you see, the less runoff and water waste that eventually end up in the ocean. Plant a tree. Trees provide food and oxygen. Of course, we all know that. So, they help save energy, clean the air, and help combat climate change. Lastly, don't send chemicals into our waterways. So, we should choose non-toxic chemicals in the home and office. So, these are to protect our ecosystem.
Importance, why should we protect our environment? So first is to protect our environment, protecting our ecosystem. We should protect our ecosystem to help it grow and thrive. Without protecting and taking care of our environment, we're putting so many lives at danger, such as animals, plants, and crops, and even our own. The second, protecting humanity. One of the major reasons why we need to work toward protecting the environment is because it helps to protect humanity. If we didn't have our environment, then we wouldn't have a place to live, resources to live off. So number three is protecting our forests. Another huge factor that is at risk if we don't protect our environment is the forests around us that we use to survive. The forests have many natural resources that we generally use on a daily basis.
So those were all about the environmental crisis and sustainable development version 2 of this course. Thank you for watching and we hope that you have learned a lot from this review.